All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Just in Time podcast. I'm your host, Justin,
The
and
GOAT.
here's my guest, Will. We're going to be talking about the championship run of the GOAT himself, Skip Bertman. Let's jump right into it then.
Long time coming, brother. Long time coming.
Yep.
We're gonna talk about how they build it up, man. Just like you said, we'll definitely get into it, but you appreciate it more, especially
Oh,
these
yeah,
championship runs recently.
you appreciate it more when you can sit here and read about it, go back and watch it. Technology nowadays, you ain't got to have it on video. You can just go to the ESPN app or find it on YouTube
Mm-hmm. That's it.
to watch them old games.
That's right.
Yeah, Skip had five in a total of 10 years.
Yeah. It's unreal, man.
Really? I think Jay can surpass him at the rate he's going.
Yeah, it's not ridiculous. I mean, like you said, 4 seasons, 2 titles, and 2 regional
Yeah.
appearances.
And look, so Skip was 62 when he got his last title, right? Yeah, 62. Jay Johnson's 48 years old.
I don't look 48.
No, but he's 48 years old, and I think he'll finish out his career at LSU.
He should.
I don't see us getting rid of him anytime soon,
Uh,
unless the game just completely passes him by at
right.
some point. I don't see it happening because he might have a down season, but his down season ends with us in a regional final.
Like I said previously, we lost to Carolina in the Chapel Hill Regional last year. But like I said, consider where they started last year and the way they had that strong finish toward the end. I think that's probably his best coaching job. Obviously, didn't win the title, obviously, but just the circumstance. I think he's done an incredible job so far.
And I will say this. So we finished in Southern Miss in the regional final against Southern Miss on a Monday. We came back from there. From there, we entered the losers bracket, had to fight and come back and beat Southern Miss twice. The thing that gets me about Jay Johnson's whole career at LSU, he's won 2 titles. He's had 3 different pitching coaches. At LSU, this was
Incredible.
his first year. This was his first year with a pitching coach that had come back from the previous season, and it showed.
Yeah, just yeah, go ahead. My
Other
bad,
than a
my
few
bad.
breakdowns during the season from the pitching staff, they were fantastic throughout the year.
Yeah. Up, showed in the playoffs. Took it to another level, man.
Led the
Goodness
nation,
gracious.
led the nation in strikeouts for the second year in a row. I mean, what more can you say?
Like I always say, just like, it starts on the mound in baseball, man. When you have that high end pitching staff from the starting rotation to the bullpen, that's
Hmm.
the foundation. I always say it's the foundation. And
Yeah,
legendary coaches, Skip Bertman's foundation was defense. So he's basically their defense coordinator
yeah,
at Miami, and defensive minded once he got here at LSU.
yep. And I can see, before we get back into this, I can see Jay winning 10.
Mm, I love it. Look, what?
Well, like I said, he's only 48. I can see him coaching until he was 68. So
Mm,
that's another 20 years at LSU.
split him in half.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can see him winning. I can see him going 10. If everything falls right, I can see him going 10.
And then like unlike Skip Bertman, I mean he had to largely build the program, but a lot of that historic foundation for Jay is already set. So I don't think that's really ridiculous to say at all. So that's a great point.
Yeah. Yeah. Like other coaches might have had the issue where they were like Smoke. Smoke was coming right off of Skip.
Uh,
The foundation was there. They just had a few growing pains, not to mention player death,
yeah.
that untimely player death that just crushed momentum going into that before the season even started with Smoke.
Right.
Then Nary comes in and he has a great turnaround in that. I think he had a losing season in the '07 season, and then he got his team to pull it together in '08 and go on that amazing win streak
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
before winning it in '09 and being pretty consistent, solidly consistent. I think he made it to a regional every year except his first year and that 2011 season.
Yeah. You know, when we was in college, like they were really dominant, man. Just like, cause you know, we went to the games, we saw it up close. They were dominant.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I remember seeing a one of those memory things on social media,
uh,
story memories, and it was full of from the Maneri era, full of top 8 national seed LSU, top 8 national seed LSU. And it's wild he had all those good teams and only made it to the championship series twice and is the only LSU coach to lose the championship series.
and man, just I'm glad he got one. You know, just
Yeah.
credit. Yeah, I'm just glad he got one. Yeah, it's hard, man.
Yeah, and if he was a pitching injury away from getting two, because if I remember right, Eric Walker tore in his UCL at Tommy John's or whatever, if it's the same thing, during the first Oregon State game, which caused us to have to throw in the championship series, lead the game off with a guy who hadn't started a game all season.
Ideal time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
Speaking of championships,
Yes, bro. Look. You see how big this packet is, bro? Packet of notes.
oh yeah.
Yeah, look, brother. This is the meat of it right here, brother. This is what I've been waiting on.
Speaking of championships, let's go ahead and talk about the 1990 team, the one
Look,
right before.
the first quote in the chapter. I don't remember tailgating being a big thing at all before 1990. Bill Frankus, LSU baseball SID, recalling Alex Block Stadium's rise to national prominence. And you know what's funny? What's interesting about that? When I read that, I immediately thought about what happened in Tiger Stadium 2 years before the earthquake game. You talk about an
Yeah.
iconic play in the history of LSU athletics. That's the one play I would have loved to be at. I wasn't alive, of course, but
Hmm.
I would have loved to be in that stadium that day.
Yeah. I saw on Instagram last night somebody posted, what part of sports history would you love to go back and watch for the first time?
Yes, indeed. This is up there for me.
I think mine for the first time would have to be one of the championships at Rosenblatt.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah. I would say
I've been
Warren
to,
Morris.
yeah,
Say
definitely
Warren
Warren
Morris.
Morris.
Yeah.
I went to Charles Schwab twice. Wish I would have gotten a chance to go to Rosenblatt.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I don't blame you, bro. Like they carried like baseball really carried the athletics, the mainstream athletic programs for that whole decade. And we obviously gonna get into like how their dominance was, just because it's crazy to think that, just this South Regional Championship game versus USC was a record-breaking crowd of 5,809 in a 6,000 seat stadium at the time. You talk about a playoff game versus the bluest of blue bloods. Just it's just a testament to Skip Bertman's greatness that she was in that position, considering where they were when he took the job.
Oh yeah, that, seeing that 6,000 seat stadium made me go back and made me a little curious. Okay, so I went and looked it up. The old box when it closed in 2008 had a maximum capacity of 7,760. But grandstand seats, it had 2,800. The new box when it opened, and that number shot up now with the addition of all the new seats. But when it had opened, it held 10,326, and that's seats. That's not counting
Exactly. Right.
the amount you can cram in with standing room only. And then the grandstand had 4,054 seats. So it almost doubled from.
Yes.
And amazingly, it still had that I'm right on top of you feel to it.
That was the common theme in this section of the book, man. Just you can feel the fan on top of you, on top of you. You can
On
feel
top
them.
of you.
Like yes, that's the common thing. I saw that like 3 times. 3 or 4 times in this section. So it's
Yeah,
crazy, man, just to be there.
yeah. But you see, we got a little difference though. You know, from years past when they would go to Texas 8-4, and their fans was throwing rocks and batteries and whatever they could throw on them.
Yep.
Skip went through the process of sending coaches, players that weren't playing that day, into the stands to teach the fans the game of baseball, why he's making this coaching decision. So when it all came down to it, when Brett Broom would get up there, they would cuss him, they would boo him. But also when they made great USC made great plays,
Yeah.
they would cheer for him, they would clap. At the end of the game, they gave him a standing ovation. LSU fans know the game, and that's because Skip went through the trouble of teaching,
And when
made
you
sure his
teach, you can
fans
be
was
more
educated.
engaged. And you be more engaged when you're educated.
Educated. I remember seeing a video on TikTok or Instagram, one of them, where he said, his first couple of years at LSU, it was Bertram. He was Bertram. Then they would yell at him, "Come on, coach, we're down 2 points," and he would say, "Well, they're runs.
To be clear, to be clear.
This this referee sucks. They're umpires, but you are correct."
Correct. You gotta love it.
So, you know,
And you
he
do it
would
in love.
he would educate him. Yeah, he would educate him.
You do it in love, brother.
Yeah, but
That's
he
funny.
would educate him, and that's why
Mhm.
we are one of the most knowledgeable fan bases when it comes to baseball because he went through that trouble. He didn't just teach his players; he taught the fans why he made this coaching decision, and that shows. But the amount of time it took him to convince the AD at that point that we needed to host a regional. Yeah.
Goodness gracious, bro.
If I'm wrong, isn't 1990 the first time they hosted?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just because in 19 like at that time you wouldn't know was the baseball power in the state. Then because UNO became the first Louisiana school to reach Omaha in '84, Skip, and like you said, Skip had to convince LSU that hosting a regional would make more money, not just getting popular
Yeah,
alone, becoming a real title contender. Like we just don't want to be here, because it's we like you said, it drives, educating the fan drives engagement, engagement drives money, and money drives more opportunities to get all these things, to get resources, to build your program. And like you said, and he was saying that that's how you get to regionals every year. We really need the fans. That's how you go to Omaha every year or almost every year. Now this is Skip saying that in 1990. This is before he won his championships.
yeah.
More
And
success
if
equals
I'm
more
not
interest anyway.
wrong, yeah. And if I'm not wrong, let's see what he told them. I think he told them, LSU would be guaranteed 75% of that 140. Or no, 75% of the 140 would be retained by the NCAA. They would get LSU could make much more than that through ticket sales and concessions alone.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think they obviously did because they kept coming back. But
And you got to
that was
give them
the
something to
amazing
come
part
back to.
about that time. Yeah. And that was the amazing part at that time. It wasn't, based on how you did throughout the season. I mean, I guess it was kind of based on how you did throughout the season, but the regionals weren't based on, oh, this one was top eight. He played top eight or top 16 throughout the year.
Yeah.
It was bid based.
Yeah. And that
So
was
who
such an
put up the
interesting
most
point,
money?
man. Yeah.
Yeah. Who put up the most money? And LSU should have been putting up the most money just as the flagship university in the state
That's right.
every single year.
That's it. Like
Yeah.
Skip had the foresight to see that. Because like I said, for UNO to be the baseball power of the state, and they're not even the flagship school. I mean, that lets you know like where they were
Exactly.
as an athletic department as a whole. 'Cause they had no major.
Yeah, I
The
think
last major championship we won was 1958 in the football, and they didn't win a major title again until '91. So it's
exactly. And I think Skip said it best when he was coming here. He came here because he was the state school.
Yes.
LSU is the state school. He didn't have to compete with other schools. Like I think he was looking at South Alabama. He didn't have to compete at LSU. He didn't have to compete with Auburn and Alabama. LSU
That's
was the
right.
state school. He could pull in the recruits. They had that. They won that regional,
Yes.
but just like in '89, it was just
Yeah, it took
the
it like just
emotions
like
that went through there.
89 and USC in 90. They're just like just the emotional drink. It was an emotional investment, like anything they've ever done. So it was like you get the emotional high, then it came back down. Unfortunately, once by the time they made it to Omaha, just I mean, younger teams and like inexperienced at that level. Like I said, we talked about this off air, but just not to excuse them for losing, because that's not. I'm not excusing them for losing in Omaha, but because they were like under five, just under 500, so like they had their chances. But again, like when you put that much of emotional investment into it, yeah, you could come down from it real quick.
Oh yeah, just like for example, one from ours in '08. They went on that win streak, got to the super regionals, and dropped a game that they should have won, but due to umpiring and everything else, they dropped.
Not
I remember that
refereeing,
game because they had
umpires
a yeah. I remember that game because they did a hidden ball trick
on
and
this code.
called UC Irvine did a hidden ball trick and called and the umps called one of our guys out when he was standing on second base. And this was before the replays in college baseball.
So the eye test, oh my goodness, before the eye,
So they
crazy.
called him out and it just killed the momentum of that game. And they dropped their first game. But the emotions coming from that being the last game at the O box, losing that win streak and coming back, I think the emotions got to that '08 team when they got to Omaha. And they just, I think they went 1-2.
Yeah, I mean, it's just even like even that's a testament to their that season as well, just to get to that point. Because it's so much that goes in, especially now. I don't think that '08 team had the emotional challenge as like the '90 team and '89 teams were, because at least in my '08 they had the pedigree as a program. Because they won
Exactly.
22 in a row. They won 20 in a row plus. Like it's just like
Yeah.
it's like the '08 Houston Rockets. So like they won 22 in a row. It takes a lot
Yeah.
out of you. So
But all of that to say, emotions were running high, and then they get to Omaha, and they just couldn't pull through. Elimination games got them. Emotions were running high, and they just couldn't finish it.
they got down way too many elimination games. But again, they're growing their program. But it was so many. They were like they played like 7 or 8 elimination games in like a couple. I'm like, man, they pushed. I pushed.
And here's a note that you put in. You went on to host 6 regionals from '90 to '98 and advanced to Omaha every year except for '92 and '95. Won the Natty in '91, '93, '96, and '97.
And it's interesting,
You
like,
know?
because USC, like, Gillespie finally reached Omaha in '98 to win it all. And it's funny they eliminated LSU again. But, like you said,
Yeah.
and I talked about USC real quick, was just like, they had won 11 of their 12 natties before 1990, including 5 straight in the mid seven, like from 70 to 74. They went 54-9 in their 78 natty season. And since their last College World Series appearance in '01, they have only made the postseason 3 times. And they only had one super regional appearance. Like it's crazy how far they've fallen off.
Uh-huh. But I mean, if you look at it, baseball used to be on that West Coast.
Dominated, yes.
Now, yeah, now it's all dominated by the East Coast and just one area in particular. Just so happens to be the Southeastern Conference. But
Don't tell the haters that. They don't like that, but
I
they'll be all right.
mean, I guess we're overrated though. But we dominate in football, baseball, and we dominate in baseball and football, but we're overrated.
Listen. I mean, we got 15, 20 years of proof. I don't know what else to tell you at this point.
The resume speaks for itself.
Sometimes people blind because they want to be. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah,
They're blind because they want to be.
the resume speaks for itself. I mean, not to get too much into the history of things, because I think that's where everybody starts getting into it, you know. But
Yeah, man.
the results speak for themselves, and the SEC
Always.
conference just keeps growing while other conferences disappeared. You
Coincidence?
know,
Come on now.
not a coincidence, but just saying.
I mean, it's just an observation.
Yeah, just observation, and there's another one. We go in and we might lose in Omaha in 1990, but starting off in chapter 6, we talk about how we won our first national championship in baseball and started running things. Started
Yeah,
running things.
they said they tasted it and like they were tired of leaving Omaha they were tired of leaving the Omaha table still hungry. One of my favorite quotes in the book. Because like
I
the
mean,
89 90 team, I said 89 team is the most important team in the history of the program. The 90 team, they had their most important win with which over USC. That's just monumental, just but which is like you said, the precursor to the chapter 6.
yeah, they even said, Lau Mouton said the 90 team he actually thought was better than the 91 team for a while, at least
Yeah,
numbers wise. Sometimes it's the hot team, and in 90 we just got hot, couldn't focus in on one guy.
that's right.
Then
It's
you
interesting you
have
bring
what you was gonna say?
no, I was just gonna say like I put a note. It's interesting you brought that up because I put a note just saying like the 2007 New York Giants when they knocked out the 16-0 Patriots. I think the '08 team for the New York Giants was much better than '07 team, but fell short in the playoffs. But I mean, sometimes with the numbers, it's important to see. But I mean, it ultimately
Yeah,
just come out to the run you make.
it's when you get hot.
Yeah,
It's all about getting hot. Then you've got like Mondo Rios doing that flip early on in the season, and Bertman telling him, "I don't see this is LSU. We expect to win here. I don't ever want to see you do that unless we win the Natty."
yeah, man.
And not to not to spoil it for everybody else, but a couple
I
months
mean,
later in Omaha, Nebraska, he would be able to do that flip again.
listen, it's the moment. Listen, I said we could perfect it this time. It's sweeter this time to do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Man, oh man, that's funny.
LSU had to play through the tournament from hell, the
It's a
SEC
rain.
tournament back when. If the SEC started doing the SEC tournament for baseball instead of going to Hoover every year, they did it like they did back in the day. I don't think it would leave Alex Box.
Oh, I didn't go to.
Alex Alex Box would be packed from the first game. Doesn't matter who's playing. LSU fans just love baseball.
Yeah,
It would be packed. It would be packed from that first game, and that championship game would have all kind of people.
yeah, it makes sense. I mean, just like you said, just they'll take over. Like you had told me a long time ago, just like when we started the podcast, like we can travel.
Oh yeah, I have that. I
Yeah,
have that clip saved.
yeah, yeah,
We travel.
yeah,
So we do travel. But I think we were talking about that because one of the first episodes was during the World Series or something,
yeah.
and somebody had put a post, saying how our Kansas fans travel. It was the Arkansas. The picture they used was from the Arkansas Regional or Super Regional, where Arkansas was at home. Arkansas didn't travel anywhere until they got to Omaha, but their fans travel, but not like our fans. When I pulled up into Omaha this year, it was purple and gold everywhere,
Well, it is. Listen,
with
Alex
little
about to know for a reason.
with little speckles of blue shit in the middle.
That's
But
something.
no offense to Coastal Carolina fans, but it did ruin the aesthetic.
The shit.
Seeing all the purple and gold around, and then you have little sprinkles of blue in it, just messed up. It's messed
It's
up.
like where's Walt? Where's Waldo? Where's Postal in the sea of purple? Love purple, live gold, baby.
You know, they had a little bit of a mid-season rough patch in
Yeah,
1991, losing doubleheader. It's kind of like this year. You know, we lost a doubleheader to A&M. 91 lost a doubleheader to Tennessee. We got swept by Auburn this year.
yes, sir.
91 got swept by Kentucky.
Yep. Mirror image.
But, same thing happened, same results. We might not have won the SEC that year,
But we were focused on
but
Omaha anyway. At that point in their program's history, even before the title, they were focused on the tech.
yeah. And that never changed. Well, they did win the SEC title back in 91. This year we didn't win we didn't win the SEC, but, they were focused on Omaha, and that Omaha focus didn't disappear. It's still there today. We don't go to You don't go to LSU and the first thing they say is, guys, we just want to win the SEC.
That's right.
Winning the SEC is our goal. No, the goal is we're going to be in Omaha at the end of the season and we're going to hold that trophy up. That just what sets us apart.
Yes, and like you make it when you explain, you make it simple on the surface. I said, listen, I'm gonna make this simple for you. You come here, you come here to win titles, natties.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be easy road, but we have the foundation in place. That's all I'm gonna tell
Hmm.
you.
Yeah. And who
We recruit Omaha players.
exactly? And who better to lead LSU through their first and set us on the path that we are today than Skip Bertman with his WrestleMania speech?
Got in their face and gave scathing
Yeah.
reviews, brother.
Yeah.
I mean, the secrets. Oh my!
Great Skip Bertman with his motivator.
It's always
The
timely, the perfect
WrestleMania,
timing.
yeah, the WrestleMania speech where he went and got in everyone's face,
Never lost again.
and just, yeah, and always went through. And that's why we pulled that championship out in 91. The first championship, that was what we did. It never stopped. And, Rios got to do his flip again. Then they get to, we go through and we hit the celebration. One of the field workers pissed
Yeah,
LSU
that's
off.
what.
Gave him
Welcome
that
back,
little
guys. 5 times the charm.
extra,
Laughing about it.
yeah, gave him that little extra motivation. When we talked about this earlier, I think I mentioned the Michael Jordan meme, and I took that
Yep.
personally,
Yep. Yep. So
and they took it personally.
at least I don't blame him. I
They,
said, listen, man, I don't blame him.
yeah, they went through, and Skip Bertman had his famous quote: "Anything you vividly imagine, ardently desire, sincerely believe, and enthusiastically act upon, absolutely must come to pass."
Iconic, iconic quote, man. Like you said, doesn't fall short. Like it's interesting because LSU scored 42 runs on 40 hits in just 3 games.
Yeah,
You talk when you on a mission like 42 runs on 40 hits in a defensive sport, in a defensive game,
it's
man.
wild. Yeah, it's wild to think of that. And this threw you off a little bit. If I remember right, when it starts talking about the championship game was played at noon on CBS.
See me coming up, I saw SEC on CBS for football in the fall.
Yeah,
So it's crazy how like I didn't know they had the rights to the College World Series. Maybe I should know as a sports guy, but it's just it was always on ESPN long as I've been watching. But I mean,
yeah,
well, ABC just a couple of years, but just but nonetheless,
yeah,
it was when you look at those highlights, yeah.
yeah. But you know, it was funny, and it's also funny, the Embassy Suites, the LSU suite, Skip Bertman's office.
Burger skip
They went
sweep.
up there and they watched. One of them. Here's one of my things in the book that I liked. Quote, and it's: "The person with the most information wins in life, and the team with the most information usually wins." And LSU's had some greats, in the last couple of years football too. Joe Burrow and watching film early. Jaden Daniels being the first one at the facilities every day, watching film. It's all starts with that. It's that quote. The person with the most information wins in life. The
I
team
like
with
it,
the
man.
most information usually wins.
When your star players, especially because like your players are an extension of the coach, especially like the captains and the stars. So when you have your two Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks do that, it sets the tone for everybody
Mm-hmm.
else. That's the ideal scenario.
Yeah. And it's like you said, when your star players, when your leadership goes through and picks up what the coach is putting down, it also helps the coach because the players take ownership of the team.
Yes, that's it.
They own that team. Like the 2023 team that won the national championship in baseball, after they lost out in that SEC tournament, held a players only meeting and took ownership and control, and they never lost again until that Wake Forest game, but we don't talk about that.
Hey, brother, it's done. We got the
Yeah.
prize. They have that top
Yeah.
seed.
Uh-huh. But like we were talking about motivation with Skip, he told before that championship game, he went and they had a team dinner and everything, and he told them, raise one of your hands. Can you raise it a little bit higher?
There you go.
Can you go a little bit higher? That's what
There
we
you
need to
go.
do on Saturday. And
I
you know
love
what?
that, man. My gosh, I love that.
Yeah. You know what? They did it.
He held the rope too.
They did it. Yeah. Great documentary, by the way. If you're looking for something to watch on
Yeah.
ESPN. Not that the SEC network doesn't play that and the walk off all the time. That's their two favorite things to play during rain delays. Doesn't matter who's
Like,
playing. They'll throw on hold the rope for uh the walk off. But and Garcia went up to him and said, "Coach, we did it." And Skip told him, "We're supposed to."
man,
And like you put in the notes. Who says that? Just
especially the time like
somebody who 100% believes it.
yes. He brought up like, he decided on the Dean Smith method, just the legendary North Carolina men's basketball coach. I stayed calm, business as usual, walked across, shook hands, hugged our coaches. Remember now, I've always seen this. So when I walked across, I felt like I've done it 1,000 times. And this is when he won his first night. I said, listen, it's not a shock to me.
It's not a shock. And then LSU would have set the records for the most runs per game, highest slugging percentage,
Yep.
fielding percentage, with only one error in
And
148
140,
chances.
that was outrageous, man. They were locked in.
Yeah. Then they would go ahead and tie the record with the most home runs. That would all be broken later on by LSU themselves, but you
Yeah.
know, the most important thing was, and like you alluded to earlier, LSU won their first championship in a major sport since 1958, and the first championship in college baseball for LSU. And
Yeah.
like Gary Email said, this was a business trip. We didn't go
Yeah.
to the zoo. We didn't get caught up in the baseball Christmas in Omaha. We went there and we won.
I love when
Which
when you get to chapter 8. Yeah, just like I haven't been to the zoo in many years, but hey,
you know,
that's cool.
I
I just want to see my team win.
when we went to Omaha those 2 years in 23 and 25, I technically went to the zoo. I mean, you ever seen the Medea movies where she told him if the good Lord gets her off from this, she'll go by the church? And
Yeah.
she drove by the church and she told him, I told you I'd go by the church. And she just drove by it. That's what I did with the Omaha Zoo. The old Rosenblatt was in the parking lot. The old Rosenblatt was in the parking lot. So, I went both times I was there, I went to the old Rosenblatt Stadium, did that whole thing, and went by the zoo. I just drove by it.
Yeah.
Not a big zoo guy.
Me neither.
So I
It's been
just,
many years.
drove by the zoo.
Just
But
we get to chapter 8, just the fanfare. Paul Bird said, the fans were waiting at the airport. It was just awesome. when we bust over to the box, it felt like a playoff atmosphere. Now the season's over. We
Yeah.
just won the championship, but it felt like a playoff atmosphere. You know how, and I could only imagine being there.
And the funny thing is, LSU asked the fans not to show up to the airport.
I was like, okay,
And
we'll see.
but it just goes to show, like, LSU fans, when our administration tells us not to do something or pleads with us not to do something, we do it anyway. Look at how many times they said, please don't storm the field. And we beat teams we shouldn't in football, and we storm the field.
Please don't stop.
Yeah. But
Please don't stop.
we go through everybody on that team spread out around the country.
Yeah.
They spread out around the country, but they all came back together to go to the White House.
George H.W. Bush.
Unfortunately, who was a former first baseman at Yale and team captain who played in the first two College World Series in 47 and 48.
That was so fascinating to me because you talk about a full circle moment essentially. That is so fascinating to me. Yeah.
And then poor Skip, you know,
Yeah, I know, man.
with his hip pain all season, had to have a hip recovery, a hip replacement surgery. And I think it was Canterbury who said he had just gotten hip replacement. He don't know how Skip did it.
Man,
Coached the whole season with it. You
yeah,
know,
it's crazy.
he didn't make it, and two of his childhood idols in DiMaggio and Williams were
Yeah.
in DC to celebrate at the same time.
I know it's funny is his wife Sandy, she said like he wanted to be here. I said, listen, guess he has to win another one. He's just gonna have to win another one to come back.
Yeah. You know what? We had to take our
More than
medicine.
that. In chapter 9, it's funny.
You
I
know.
just took some Robitussin, elderberry Robitussin last night. Medicine, medicine year, medicine session. Not good.
Yeah.
But it shows you like
Yeah. I had to.
people are so quick to expect great, like, oh, we just gonna automatically do it. What you about to say? I'm sorry.
I said I just took some medicine. I had to take some medicine for my neck.
Yeah,
This crick in that neck is just there. But LSU had to swallow a pill.
yeah.
More the fan base, because
More than
I don't think
anything. Yeah,
us as fans realize how hard it is to make it to the top year in and year out.
yeah.
I think
Remember,
there's a reason why. Winning back-to-back championships in baseball has only been done a handful of times in this era.
in this area, yeah, because I know USC did it back in the '70s. Unbelievable feat in itself. But just
Yeah, and
as the landscape has gotten more widespread, I think Oregon State did it, South Carolina did it, we did it. It's a short list. Like that's the only thing I can think of off top.
short list. Yeah, and just we took our medicine, and our medicine included us doing something that we've never done before. And we got shut out in two regional games, including getting shut out by Fullerton.
Another baseball power historically.
Yeah, and I think it's funny. If you go to that chapter, I think they just say that's baseball.
And like, yeah, I just put like the infamous unpredictability of the sport. We got shut out 11-0 on the season high, errors and just 4 hits. Granted, like I said, we're playing a historic power, but I mean, it's just you know, we had a 15-2 tournament record at the
Yeah.
box since 1986 with zero eliminations through the three previous home regionals. But hey, when you got to take your medicine, like you said, it's a wake up call to the fans.
Yeah.
So
And it reminds me, when you get like a cold or something and you go to the doctor and they give you those big old antibiotic pills that those horse pills you hate taking. That's what this was. And the title of chapter 9 is That's Baseball. Is no excuse. Sometimes you just lose.
yeah,
And the all of these chapters open up with a quote, and the quote was, "My first reaction to the game of baseball, I guess, is it's just such a strange game." And that was from Augie Garrido.
yeah.
You know,
If he
that
says
is
that,
just a
that tells you something.
yeah. Now he had some later on in his coaching career in his life, he had some major breakdowns. But but he's one of those coaches when he talked, you listen.
Without question.
Yeah.
And speaking of coaches, when you
But
talk, you
you
listen,
know,
going to chapter 10 with the recruits.
yeah.
Let's skip doing that recruiting trail again.
Oh, yeah, and he look, you want to come here, great. You want to come here, great. If not, we're gonna find somebody else, and we're gonna go to Omaha, with or without you.
Leverage is a luxury, bro.
Yeah. Like Todd Walker, for example, 4A Player of the Year. He was heavily recruited. Oklahoma State, 8-4, and Arkansas offered him 85% scholarships. Skip offered him 25, and he didn't go to Texas Never Wins or Arkansas. He came to LSU on a 25% scholarship and was going. This was Skip saying this, the best 3-year player I've ever had. He just had a way of saying, "Look, we're gonna do it with or without you," and meant it because he was gonna
Yeah,
do it
yeah.
with or without you.
Because he's done it already. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying I'm not gonna do it again.
Speaking of Texas Never Wins, we had a pitcher who was
Soroka,
originally committed to them.
that's it.
Soroka was originally committed to them, and he, Skip flipped him. And the funny thing about that, I think, you know, I don't think he was the one that he even went and looked at when he got to the.
Yeah,
It just
man.
so happens the guy they went watch that day had an off game, and they put him in, and his coach told him, "You really need to watch this kid," and that turned
Yeah.
into he was the best 4-year pitcher I've ever had.
I mean, but this was like it just goes to show you, like, his recruiting prowess. I said, listen, and then another thing is the power in your staff, right?
Yeah.
Because that's why I say the coaching in college sports is so massive. It's easier when you have great players, of course, but the coach is the star, and then you have the staff is the blood is like the middleman, so to speak. Then helps bring the players in because
Yeah.
the culture has to be set at the top. You need your athletic department supporting the backing from the AD, but it's come down to the coach.
Mm-hmm.
So with
And
that, you have the best 3-year player and the best 4-year pitcher.
yeah. And it's funny you should say that about coaches because I truly believe what makes a team great, what makes the coaching staff great, is when not only the meld well together and play well together, but when a coaching staff, you know, does the same thing. They gel well together.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
never
good
a
point.
there's never a point in a season or a game where you watch and the coaches are looking at each other like, why did you make that choice? I didn't tell you to do that,
Mhm.
and are fighting each other. All great teams, the players, that they all buy into the system.
Yeah,
They are like this, and you can't pull them apart.
that's it. That's good. That's a great point.
They call the
Yeah. It's just like we talk so
yeah.
much about the
What you were gonna
players
say?
meshing. No, no, I said that's an excellent point because we talk so much about the players meshing, but listen, the coach, like I said, the coach got to mesh. Like you said, the coach has to mesh
Yeah.
because they the one that sets the foundation. So that's a great
What's that
point.
old saying? What's that old saying about you know, when things go wrong, the right hand doesn't know what the left is doing. Yeah, it's everybody has to be on the same page. But get back into it, the facade, the 1993 facade,
The
you know,
illusion, the mirage.
the Mirage, the top heavy team with the most errors in school history
That is
that won the national championship.
bullpen. What's crazy? The bullpen only had 7 saves all year. 7.
You know what? Like, here's a great example right here. 30 years later, the 2023 team and the 1993 team, error, 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 error. Sure, in 2023, we had Paul Skeens leading the bullpen,
Mhm.
and we had great players and stuff, but we were ate up with the error bug.
Yeah.
And errors cost us in 22,
24.
and 23 was just a team much like the 93 team, in the mirrors to it because, you go through, they had so many errors that they shouldn't have been there. They were down. I think they played from behind in most of their,
Yeah.
and, like Rito said, he was on that 91 team and they had great talent.
Right.
But this team deserves to win it too because they have heart, great heart.
And he also said like we were up against the wall, but nobody was desperate because we had Skip. So we have that patriarch figure at the top. He sets the mood. He sets the
Exactly.
thermostat. So
Yeah.
even with their
You don't touch
flaws,
that
they
thermostat.
were that. Yeah, even with the flaws, you have that trust in your leader to
Yeah.
get you over.
And, and another, call back to the 2023 team, they're just the mirror. Now, this was a championship series game because back then they only played one game, one winner take all game.
Yeah.
But Laxton was the first pitcher since 61 to throw a complete game shutout in the title game.
Shout out.
Yeah. And you've got shout out to Cade, you know, talking to the parallels between the 93 and the 23 team. He didn't throw a complete game, but that strikeout record,
Yeah.
he tied it with 17 was Ty Floyd,
Yes.
who, in my opinion, we don't give him enough credit for the 2023 season.
Here we
As a
go.
fan base, we look at 2023. As a fan base, we look at 2023, and as far as pitchers go, we just say Paul Skeens. We don't mention Ty Floyd. But
Exactly.
Ty Floyd also, he might have went in that auxiliary round, but it was still technically the first round. Ty Floyd went in that first round.
I don't care how you get there,
But
because yeah, so
yeah,
it shouldn't matter.
and yeah, like we said, it doesn't matter how you get there, it just matters your results. They might have played from behind, but that
Yeah, it's
championship game,
funny.
they were never behind.
Yeah, I love how you said like I love you bring that up because my last note in this chapter, for chapter 10 was like the 93 team was the first LSU squad to be number one at the beginning of the season and at the end of the season, which is incredible because they were
Yeah.
flawed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Just
a
goes to show
miracle in
you how much
itself.
baseball mirrors life. Goes to show you how much baseball mirrors life.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to be perfect throughout your life. Throughout life, you're going to have times where things don't go as planned. You just got to keep moving forward. And that 93 team was the team that proved it the best.
That's right.
Set the school record with 125 errors and still won the national championship,
It won't happen. That's not gonna happen.
which is a direct contradiction to the famous quote that defense wins championships.
Historically great defenses win championships, as I always like to
Yeah,
say. But yeah, you're right, man. It's just like and you get why they call it a facade, man. Just it's not something you shoot for, but like the way they capitalized when they had to, just to their credit. And speaking of legendary, like that's just
you
a
know,
legendary feat in itself.
and here's a legendary feat. What was it?
Oh boy.
50th anniversary of the College Baseball World Series.
And the birth of their legendary gold uniforms.
Yep. Which I have a jersey, the gold jersey. I also have a purple one now, but the gold jersey started in this regional.
Championship gold, brother.
Championship gold. That's sunflower gold, I think, is the official name
Official
for that
name.
color before we call it championship gold.
I like championship gold better.
And you got a guy in Warren Morris who was a walk on. He was a preferred walk on. And he stayed a walk on his whole career at LSU, mainly because his academics, he had so many scholarships that they could do that.
Yeah.
Cleared up a lot of money to offer other guys.
Yeah, man.
But, Warren Morris had the moment that's never happened in this,
I think that
never happened.
just might be the most iconic moment in history of LSU sports.
I think
Like
that's the
it's
most
hard
iconic moment of the history of the College World Series.
without question. Just like especially when you consider the context of his story. Walk on, didn't hit home runs. The moment, especially bottom ninth, that's storybook, man. It's just when you consider
Oh
the
yeah,
context, yeah, just that's all I really have from this chapter. I said, and of course, I know you're gonna put it in the video. Just some of the notes I had, like Morris switched bats unlike his teammates. He said, even if I struck out, I went down swinging, and like the motto, "Pick me up."
yeah. His
The
plan
team
was
wouldn't
to
take.
the plan was to just yeah the plan was to just hit the ball, put the ball in
Yes,
play. I'm gonna go
that's it.
down swinging.
Yeah,
He broke that hamate bone earlier on in the season, and that was the first time he felt good enough to put a full swing on it. You
yeah.
know, and when he hit that ball,
He said he thought it was a double. That's a great
yeah,
double right there.
I'm gonna put it in probably to cover me up reading this, but you know, Jim Hawthorne will take a base hit, an error, a wild pitch, or something. He began. Then he'd finish it off with the most famous
Yeah.
call of the game. The stretch by Morrison, the pitch swung on, that's hit to right field. That's way back there. Way back there. Home run. Tigers win. Oh my. The Tigers are the national champs. I don't believe it. His first home run of the year. Holy cow.
What a time to do it, brother. Most I confidence. What a
Oh,
time to
yeah.
do it.
You know, just never happens. First pitch, 2 outs in the World Series, a walk off.
Storybook.
You know? Yeah. And like he goes on to say, Warren Morris played Major League Ball, but every time people come up to him, they always talk about that hit
Yeah.
in '96. And, Morrison never got over that. It took him
Yeah, I don't
years to get over
listen.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have nightmares too. I'm not going to lie. If I was a pitcher who gave up the walk off like that, I would have nightmares.
It's
You
interesting
down
because
to you.
like yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
just going to say, you down to that last out and you give up that to a guy who hadn't hit a home run all year.
It was fascinating. Just like I never thought about how it affected Miami because I knew like obviously Skip had ties to the program, but just like because the coach he gets asked about that to this day. Like at least according to the book, just
Mm-hmm.
like he was asked about it. Like I never thought about it from that perspective. Outside of the fact that Skip had ties to both programs. That's it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's just fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, it is fascinating. All of that brings us to what we were
Oh,
talking
boy.
about earlier. The not many teams do it, but it has been done. Goes back to
Mhm.
back,
Yes.
and
And not only back to
the
back,
'90s.
the gorilla ball era,
Oh yeah, that trampoline effect.
the bats were starting to get more energized in '96. You started to see it in '96, but the bat barrels in '97 were even larger and wider with more explosion. My Yankees, we got a lot of flack this year. It started with the torpedo bats, but this was for torpedoes right here. But I mean, it's just like it's like you said, Patrick Coogan, the trampoline effect. It's funny, like you said, if you happen to walk by Alex Box Stadium on the way to an LSU football game in the fall, you'd be lucky if you didn't get hit by a ball.
Yeah, I
Brandon
mean,
Larson saw it in the fall.
yeah, it was wild. And then you go through and you have, you start to see and Brandon Larson, who was just so good. Then you got Eddie Furnace,
Yeah,
who leads in career home runs, leads LSU at 80.
outrageous, outrageous.
It's just would set the school record with 26.
Yep.
Brandon Larson set the school record with 26. And you can't say this really anymore, but remains one of four players to hit 40. No one
I
has
said more
hit
than
more than
34,
34 since
like you were saying.
they
Yeah.
started making the bats smaller and weaker beginning in '99.
Like they mentioned in the book, said like Skip picked up on the trend quickly because he was known as a defensive coach, like I said earlier. If for his pitching prowess, but small ball. He went from small ball mindset to home run derby. And look, they talked about Nick Saban in Alabama, and I looked at Coach K at Duke. Nick Saban, went from like the smash mouth traditional, the old school style to like the aerial attack. Coach K went from like having all the upperclassmen to like the one and done era in college basketball. And one thing about the calling card of a great coach, in my opinion, is adaptability. It's not just with in-game adjustments,
Oh
but
yeah.
just like the philosophical changes.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to be able to adapt, and that stuff like you put here. Les Miles didn't do it, you know.
And I was a big fan of him. Like Dabo Sweeney to a degree, but like he at least I give him credit this past season for like making that run at the end to get to the playoffs. But even I'm just curious to see how he does moving forward because he's been rigid with that. But I gave him credit for this year.
Yeah. But we go through and it's just like Mike Bianco said, Skip was never scared to change. He had guts and was willing to venture out, you know.
And that's what you need.
And yeah, and through 8 games at the start of the '97 season, LSU had 25 home runs, and the LSU Thors started 19-0 and sat at number one for 8 straight weeks.
Should have trademarked Thor's. And like another Skip's patented acronyms, APE, approach, plan, and execute. And they executed with a nation leading 131 homers, which destroyed the school record of 87 from 1994, just 3 years earlier. The 97 team delivered an NCAA record 188 home runs, can BYU's 161 from 1998.
Let's see, you know, NCAA home run records by teams, run records, not softball. Yep, LSU baseball still holds that record at 188, and I don't think it'll ever be beaten.
Be hard to because and the thing is, the '98 team LSU hit 157, so they still fell 30 short. So
Yeah, it was just amazing.
there's a reason
That's
why there's a
why
reason why
I
this
have
was
written right
Bergman's
here.
least stressful season.
Yeah, I have written right here because we brought up Cade. Jared Jones is number 3 on LSU's all-time career home runs. I think if he would have made the decision to come back for his 4th year, maybe he could have touched this. But
I agree.
Eddie Furness's career home runs were 80. He's number 1, and he has his jersey retired at LSU for that reason.
Yeah.
Brad Cressy, we'll get to him later, 78 home runs in his career. Jared Bear Jones, 64. And he passed another LSU great up that he tied this season in Dylan Cruz. Speaking of Dylan Cruz, when are we going to retire Dylan Cruz's jersey? To get off on a tangent.
No, that look, I understand. Listen, because I understand like the build up. I was like, don't get
Yeah.
me started. Yeah, but don't get me started. I'm gonna let y'all live today. That's fun.
Because there's a lot I can say on that, but let's just keep it going with the flow.
So we got there's a reason why this was Skip Bertman's least stressful season. Now we did struggle pretty bad down the stretch. It was one of my favorite Skip Bertman stories. I heard this like several years ago. I don't know if it was on the radio or on TV, but it was page 122. Pitcher Doug Thompson wanted to stay in for one of the games, but Skip pulled him. So you got to trust me today, Dougie boy. It's gonna be bad today. But listen, tomorrow I'm going to bring you back to win the SEC. And it goes just in that small piece, like just the foresight he had. And,
Yeah, the stuff that Skip would tell him boys going to that mound. Like I've heard stories, I don't remember who it was, but I think it was Ronnie Rance maybe. Skip called for a breaking ball, and he was feeling the fastball that day, so he kept shaking him off. They said Skip came off about the 4th time he shook him off. Skip went up to that top step and yelled, "Throw the effing fastball!" And he threw it, and the kid took him yard, and he just went out there and said, "I told you." Or like he used to tell Bird, you can make a bishop kick in a stained glass window. Or one of my favorites that somebody said he used to say was when he'd walk up to that mound, and say, "This isn't your fault. It's mine. I'm the one who told you could pitch at this level." Should have never gave you a scholarship.
You bring that up all the time, man. That is funny.
But as much as he would do that, how many times he would go out and get thrown out of games because of he knew when to do it.
Yeah, I
He
made
knew
the note.
when
It's
his
just like,
players, yeah, you made the note here, he just knew when to go get ejected and fire his team up. During one of the games this year, Lynn Rollins was with all his lines, used to umpire. And he said one game, I forgot the team it was against, but he said one game, he was umpiring a game for Skip, and it was the last out of the game, and it was a bang bang play. And he said Skip came out that dugout all fired up, and was yelling at him, but he told him, "Look, I got to come out here and I got to yell at you." But that was a good call. He made a good call. I just need to get my team fired up.
but yeah, it was funny. That's a funny story, man. Just like, but I was like, even Michael Braswell said it like when he was on with Matt Moscona, like right after they won the title and with the Coastal Carolina with their coach situation, Snall. He was saying like, sometimes it's strategic for coaches to do that. But but I put in notes like unlike Dan Hurley for UConn, it's like so y'all do this ranting all the time. It's one thing to do it strategically.
Yeah.
Some coaches they do it strategically. But like some guys like Snall and Dan Hurley, it's like, bro, y'all too much for all that all the time. Y'all on 10 every game.
And I remember last year, or I guess in 24, Jay got tossed in the Florida game, and he got tossed again. But his teams never responded to him getting tossed.
Yeah.
He got tossed this year in the Arkansas game. I'm sorry, I don't know what got into him. The Arkansas game, he got tossed, and everything just went downhill from there. At that point in the game, he tried to do something to get his team fired up, and it just went downhill. Although I don't think he was trying to get his team fired up, I think he went out there and just it was a. I saw the call. I pulled up the ESPN app because the umpires have been bad all season. Everything good?
Yeah. And just put it on the timer.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
But I think he said after the game, but I don't trust the umpires. I have the ESPN app up all the time especially when they start with in postseason when they start with the TrackMan stuff on ESPN, and they put that. I look at it, but they threw one right down the middle. And they went to call strike three, and he said ball. Like he flinched and went back, and Jay called him out on that, and he tossed him. But LSU hit at least one home run in 77 straight games from Warren
77.
Morris in '96 to February of 1998. And you made a note in here
Years.
somewhere about, I think it was this. Every player had double-digit home runs. Yeah, here it is. All 9 starting players hit double-digit homers, and LSU got at least one home run in every game, and they finished with a school record of 57 wins.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Uh, just the home run numbers were. There's a reason why that is it in Plaquemine that lady has the statue of the gorilla that she dresses up every. In case anyone was wondering, Gorilla Ball started, and that's what happened.
That's hilarious, man. But like going to
Uh,
chapter going to chapter 13, the onslaught continued for LSU in '98 because they set College World Series records in home runs in the game with 8, players with home runs in the game with 7, and most homers in the inning with 4. But unfortunately, in '98, their bats who encoded ultimately were eliminated by USC, which we had mentioned earlier, for Gillespie to get his first title with the program. But like what was interesting, like the NCAA was not happy with the offensive onside and things changed going into 1999.
yeah, yeah. Just before we go too far, there you put some notes in that I think is really important going down the stretch. Instead of using, you know, footage of his past teams to motivate the squad, he used home run highlights from the current season. And just another way of him being innovative and thinking outside the box. and added the extra touch to his pregame speech is you represent your family, your school, your maker in a dynasty.
That's oh, I'm glad you brought that back because I was like, because he brought it up previously, but he added that touch at the end. Yeah, great
Yeah.
catch. Yeah, great catch.
But there's something about it for, you know, we get into it with that 2000 team. I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary Hold the Rope, but they were all saying, Skip had a way of he was such a big visualizer that he made them watch highlights from past teams,
Yeah.
and by the time that they got there, they knew it. They felt like they played the game already, and that showed when, I think it was Terrio when they won it in 2000, said when he came around, he didn't even think about it. He's seen the helmet toss up so many times. First thing he did when he scored was took his helmet and threw it straight up.
That's right. That's right, man. Like it's just just
You
like
know, but
the stuff that led to the precursor of that 90 that 2000 run, man, is just like it was interesting. Like the players use movies like Gladiator and Braveheart as their battle chants because Gladiator came out in like
yeah,
2000 was and then Braveheart was like 95, but just like it, but either way they because they had to use those, especially because in '99 the NCAA eliminated the pop and slide from the bats, and the side of the bats, and LSU's home run production dipped to 104, and like their goal was to really create more parity, seemingly. Yeah, just like, but they also expanded the postseason from the 16 regional to the 14 set, followed by a best of three 2-team super regional. So they proved successful on the surface because LSU went 18 and
yeah,
11, which is their worst record in like since '95. Even though they reached the super region, they were swept by Alabama on the road. And like you said earlier about Skip had health issues and he passed out on one of the plane rides. Yeah, it's just yeah. You hear me?
you had cut out a lot. You cut out a lot there. Yeah, I
All
can hear
right,
you
can you hear
now.
me?
You were cutting out a lot there.
Okay.
Yeah, can you
What was
hear
the
me?
last thing you heard? Yeah, I got you.
We were talking about getting swept by Alabama on the road. The part in the notes where it said 99.
Yeah, so yeah, like I said,
Yeah,
so they were swept by Alabama on the road. Even though they made the supers with their struggles, they got swept on the road. I was saying like Skip had health issues. Now I was saying it's reconnecting. You hear me? Yeah, so I was saying like Skip you had brought up that he had health issues because he had passed out on one of the plane rides. Yeah.
okay, everyone. So we had a little technical issue with the full recording, but so this part is going to be part one. We already recorded part two, and I'm gonna upload them at the exact same time. So look out for part two right after this one is gonna come up. It's gonna be part two. This is gonna be part one. Thank you.